Hi everyone, Sarah Picaro here. Today's video is going to be talking about the other parent and the dynamic of having a narcissistic parent and a non-narcissistic parent, or if that's a word, a parent who was more of the enabler, the parent who stayed because they wanted to keep the family together, they thought it was the right thing to do. Who did more damage to you, to the children in that family? Because yes, we all know the narcissist, the emotionally unavailable parent, the emotionally neglectful parent does a lot of damage, but specifically the narcissistic parent. But have you ever thought about the enabling parent? A lot of times when I have clients come to work with me, specifically one-to-one, there's a lot that they're internalizing and processing and trying to figure out. And a lot of times guilt, anger, resentment comes up. And it's not so much towards the narcissistic parent. They understand that that parent is emotionally damaged and did not have that capacity or ability to love them. And then they realize that they, being the client, it's no wonder that I chose narcissistic partners. It was just like my parent. But there's a lot of anger towards the other parent as well. And the other parent is often seen as the enabling parent, as the one who let that narcissistic parent treat that child, who's now you or the adult that you are today, that way, and didn't do anything about it, didn't leave, didn't stand up for you as that child in the dynamic of the relationship, didn't stand up to the abuser. And if you're going with the theory that everyone does the best they can with what they have, knowing the narcissist has narcissistic traits and qualities, they're truly doing the best with that, because those are not very good traits and qualities, but they're doing the best they can with that. They're using them to their capacity and ability, but their traits and qualities are gaslighting, manipulation, interrogation, constantly playing the victim, lack of taking responsibility. What about the other parent, the enabling parent? What kind of damage was done from them or by them in that situation? A lot of times you're not just processing the experience with the narcissistic parent, you're also internalizing, interpreting, and processing the experience with the non-abuser. But in a way, they are as well, because they're emotionally unavailable, emotionally neglectful, because their needs are going to serve, appease, and please that narcissist to try and prevent that volcano from erupting and exploding. So the enabling parent often is trying to cover and protect the children and prevent an explosion, an argument, to try and keep the children in the family dynamic safe. But in another way, they're enabling, which means allowing and not doing anything to prevent or stop that narcissistic parent from doing the harm that they're doing to the child. So there's a lot going on in this type of structure and family dynamic. So today, let's take a look at the enabling parent. And from personal experience, this came up as well as part of my journey to transformation and healing years ago, processing the anger and rage that I had towards my mother and the fear of becoming like my mother, and identifying my own patterns and behaviors within narcissistic relationships were very much of my mother. I was playing that same role of easing and appeasing and soothing and smoothing so that my partner at that time wouldn't explode, wouldn't enrage. And I had a lot of anger that I had become my mother, this jellyfish, back, like spineless, no back, no structure, no support, never stood up for herself, just kind of, it's okay, and stepped into that codependent caregiving role. So let's look at that, because when you process all of that and you really get crystal clear on who you are, you're not the narcissistic parent, you're not your mother, but chances are you see some qualities and traits within yourself that are like one or both. And that can bring up a lot emotionally, right? We come through our parents, not from them, but we take on beliefs from them, unconscious beliefs that become embedded in our inner mind about ourselves from them, not because of them, right? A lot of people think, well, life is happening to me. And there's a very different perspective to be had when you take it that life happens for me, right? Much more power in that. But we're going to look at the enabling parent today and the way that they impacted your childhood and thus your adulthood, the way that you are today. What kind of damage did the enabling parent do? Because they themselves have certain traits and habits and patterns of behavior. And those are often disbelief and denial of the things that are happening, saying it's not that bad. Come on, it's your mom, it's your dad. They love you, and trying to get that child in that situation to believe that they love you, and having them feel and believe that that is a representation of love. Abuse is not love. So being in this state of denial as the enabling parent that the other parent isn't that bad, or that the child is making a big deal of it and blowing it up or blowing it out of proportion is very, very damaging, because then it feels like no one, as a child in that situation, feels like no one is on your side. You've got the toxic narcissistic parent who's certainly not on your side. And the enabling parent who's also not on your side. So it's natural to feel completely alone, completely misunderstood, isolated, that no one cares for you, no one loves you, no one is there for you, and to grow up with those beliefs that you're not worthy and deserving of being connected with someone, being treated with respect, and being a part of uh, something that you want to be a part of that's healthy in a way. You just feel like you're completely alone and you know this isn't right. And no one is supporting that belief that this isn't right, because the enabling parent is in disbelief and is in denial that anything really that bad is happening. So the enabling parent also covers up the problem due to their own guilt. So it's called parental guilt. They cover up the problems in the family due to parental guilt, due to shame. So they're just covering it up. It's like the narcissistic parent just digs this hole and sprays it everywhere. And that enabling parent comes in and just puts the dirt back, makes it nice, makes it the way it should be, covers it up, nothing to see here, right? And that's due to their own parental guilt and shame. And I've had this conversation with my mother as well, as she felt that she felt guilty because she knew the way that we were being treated and mistreated wasn't okay, but she felt powerless and felt like there was nothing she could do about it. So her role and her job and her position was to just make sure it wasn't worse than it already was. There was a lot of shame about that. Why did I choose this person? I wish I could do something about it to make it different, change, or stop it, but I couldn't. And I just wanted to protect you as best as I could. So that's a behavior of the enabling parent. And the enabling parent steps into that role as the caregiver, as the nurturer, as the lover, as the smoother and soother in an attempt to make life easier as a solution by giving things, right? By doing things for you and expecting less in return. I remember growing up having very little responsibility, very little like check in. It was like my parents were completely checked out. They didn't care. They removed responsibilities. There would be arguments and blowups around the dinner table, around dinner time, around the chores being done or not being done. So my mother just did it all because she didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to hear it. And so instead of allowing those conversations and arguments to occur, my mother just did it all so that they wouldn't occur. So the enabling parent often attempts to make life easier, and they will overlook bad behavior to keep the peace. They're the peacekeepers and they're the peacemakers, the enablers. They will overlook bad behavior to just keep the peace. So they stuff and bottle things down, or stuff things down and bottle them up. And they very rarely come out, because if they come out, then there goes the peace. So they'll overlook bad behavior just to smooth and soothe and keep the peace in the house. The enabling parent is often obsessing about their child due to the exclusion of others and themselves. So they're obsessed, they're the helicopter hovering parent. Because they don't want the child to be excluded. So they're often just doing everything for everyone to make sure everything's okay. And there's nothing to see here. And look how pretty and happy and perfect it is. So they're obsessed about that. So they very rarely give you a space that you need, because they're constantly checking in. How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? You good? Okay. Do you want me to do anything for you? Okay. Do you want me to And they're obsessed about that. They can't give that safe space that's needed to have distance because they're constantly worrying, is something going to happen if I don't step in and do it for them? So they are very much that way. It can be very overwhelming and overbearing and very difficult to process as a child who grew up with an enabling parent as an adult, because more than likely they don't change their ways, right? To truly transform and change, it takes a responsibility and acceptance of your part in it, and then doing that inner work to change yourself. So a lot of times they're still that way. They very, very easily give the benefit of the doubt to people who haven't earned it. And there's a big, big problem in that. So they will give the benefit of the doubt. They will easily forgive and forget and pretend that it never happened. And the enabling parent gets stuck in this cycle of things happening over and over and over again. Or when that narcissistic parent, whoever, blows up, promises like that they will change and that they will never do that again, that enabling parent gives the benefit of the doubt, even though they know they're not going to change. And even when that person hasn't earned it, actions speak louder than words. And the enabling parent doesn't go based off actions, they take another's word for it. So the narcissistic parent can do what they do and then promise they're going to change, but not show any behavior of change. And the enabling parent will give the benefit of the doubt. And they forgive very, very, very quickly. And they're very quick to also blame others, which is very much a narcissistic trait. They're very quick to blame other people and say, well, if that person hadn't done this, then this narcissistic person hadn't done that. And so they're not putting the responsibility back on the narcissistic parent and holding them to that. They very much lack boundaries. So they're very quick to blame others, which also obviously is a narcissistic trait. So sometimes it's like, okay, well, which one was the narcissist? Or maybe it was my mom, maybe it was my dad, whoever it was. But when you really take a look at it, there are a lot of enabling behaviors that are just as damaging as narcissistic behaviors. And when you're a child growing up in this environment and you're constantly surrounded by this and absorbing all of this, it does a lot of internal damage. You have no idea. You just feel completely unsafe, unprotected, unsupported, misunderstood, not heard, not seen, all of these things, because you've got the enabling parent just trying to smooth everything out, which is not emotionally tuned in with you, and trying to just keep the narcissist, like, just stay over here and just be nice, okay? I just don't understand why you can't just get it together. So the enabling parent is also very reluctant to face reality. And they're reluctant to face reality for fear of losing their children, of losing their children's trust, losing their children, the connection with their children, losing the relationship with their children. They will say and do anything because they're reluctant to face reality, of the fear that, you've already lost your child because you haven't stuck up for them because of these enabling behaviors. So they believe lies. They believe what other people say. They believe the narcissist lies when they say that they're going to be different and they're going to change. So if they just continue to enable the cycles, the patterns, the behaviors to continue to remain instead of being a part of the change. So in many, many ways, the enabling parent can be just as damaging and just as emotionally unsupportive as the narcissistic parent. So as you're going through your process and your journey to healing and transforming your inner unconscious beliefs that you developed, that you've carried about yourself because of not only the narcissistic parent, but the enabling parent, it's common to find just as much anger come up towards that quote unquote better parent, right? How do you define better? But to see that the enabling parent has their own list of toxic traits as well. And part of your transformation is processing that and realizing, right, that the inner unconscious beliefs that you have about yourself have nothing to do with their limitations and their actions, their habits, their behaviors with each other and with you. So True healing, true transformation begins from within. It begins to get into the very core and root of the inner and unconscious beliefs that you developed about yourself, not just from the narcissistic parent, but also from the enabling parent as well. And if you're ready to learn more about that powerful transformation and a powerful way to heal, to move through all of that and move on with your life. Sometimes that's a triggering word, move on. You can't just do it consciously because it feels like you hit this brick wall and it feels like you can't go any further from there. So this is about getting you beyond that and getting you to a place where everything in your life is vastly different and has changed for the better, for the positive, not just for you, but for everyone around you and in everything in your life. So if you've wondered about the enabling parent and why is it that, when I think about them, I hope this video has been helpful for you to understanding why. So you can find more information about our program, Transforming Past Pain to Present Power. It's my signature program. There's a free masterclass on it if you want to hop on that. Or if you're looking for a rapid transformation, you can find more about transformational healing and schedule a time for us to connect if you're interested in seeing if we're a good fit to work together one-to-one as well. All right, guys, that is it for the enabling parent today. I will see you later. Until next time.